Hello, and thank you for listening to another XenTegra podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Young, and today we're highlighting Fortinet's Accelerate 2025 with our partner, Liquid Networks. I'm joined today by Christian Graham from Liquid Networks and LeeAnn Larson from XenTegra. Hi, Christian and LeeAnn. Welcome, and how are you both doing today?
Hey, doing well. As my boss Andrew would say, living the dream.
Glad to hear. Glad to hear. How are you, LeeAnn?
Oh, I am fabulous as always, sir.
You're always even keel. That's good to hear. Well, that's great. And again, thank you for joining. Um, Let me start with our first guest, Christian. And Christian's a senior network engineer with Liquid Networks. He holds the Fortinet Specialist and now the Fortinet Expert exam cert. And as if that wasn't enough, Christian is fresh off attending the Fortinet Accelerate in April, where he finished third in the Fortinet Ultimate Fabric Challenge. Congratulations, Christian. That's quite an accomplishment.
Thanks. Yeah, keep you honest a little bit there. I've got the FCX exam, but I don't have the lab yet, so I don't quite have the cert. But I did pass the exam earlier this year, and I'm looking forward to taking the lab later.
Fantastic. Well, that's good to hear. Hey, I don't know if there's enough power to fire up that lab right now, so they may be a while.
And
before
that
they
lab is a
invite you.
monster.
There you go. So LeeAnn is a senior security solutions architect here at XenTegra and holds the Fortinet FCSS in network security. She's a certified ethical hacker and has her Cisco CCNA. So that's pretty well done. Also, LeeAnn, thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir. I don't have the fortitude nor the time right now to be like, Christian and the big guys and studying for that 9-hour FCX exam. But, huge round of applause to all you former NSC8s, now FCXs out there.
Oh, good to hear, man. Good to hear. Hey, look, I'm impressed anybody that gets up past the 5, 6, 7 category. That's quite a bit of work, and congratulations to both of you. So, hey, Christian, let's talk about your time at Accelerate. Tell me a little bit about what you enjoyed most and what was it like competing?
Yeah, so it was a little nuts for me. I had some travel issues, and I ended up landing about an hour before the competition started. So I'm still kind of on the fence whether that was a bane or a boon at this point, because on one hand, my stress could not have been any higher leading up to that, and there was no jet lag. But on the other hand, I didn't have any chance to get my feet on the ground before I jumped right in. But yeah, I landed. I got to the convention center about 30 minutes before the competition started, and then I jumped right in. I didn't even have time to get my jersey. But no, it was a blast. I've done the UFC a couple of times. We do it internally at Liquid to determine who's going to go try out at Accelerate. And my first year at Liquid, I qualified to go to Nashville and do it. And then last year, of course, it was Vegas. And then this year I qualified again to go to Orlando. I'm looking forward to that one as well.
I will see you there, sir. Was this your first time traveling internationally?
It was. My wife and I are
Oh, goodness. You started off with a bang.
Absolutely. My wife and I are going to Greece this year. So we were looking forward to that being our first trip together. But it looks like I was able to go first.
Oh, that's so wonderful, though. That must have been so crazy to meet all those other engineers and architects from all over the world and, see people from like APAC and stuff.
Absolutely. I've got a little bit of a baby face. So talking to some of the guys, they were like thinking I was like 21, 22, and I'd come out there. And then they were pretty surprised to find out that I was in my 30s. So it's always a
I was too, sir. So yeah, no, trust me, I was a bit surprised in Nashville. That shock is real.
Wow, well, that's quite a story. I mean, to fly in, have trouble with your flight, and then get little or no time to kind of gather yourself and roll right into the event. I mean, congrats
Right
again.
into the meat grinder.
Yeah. So tell me, after going through it all, and I'm sure you have your own secret preparation techniques, what advice would you give someone else who's interested in competing?
Yeah, so one of the big things is you have to work for a Fortinet partner to do it. You can't do it. It's just a customer, or even the engineers don't get to compete at the UFC and Accelerator experts. But one of the big things is you have to know how to manage your time. which is a lot like engineering in the real world. Is if you spend all of your time on the tasks at the beginning of the competition, you're going to get kind of caught up towards the end, because they do reward you a lot for being the first to complete objectives. So when it came down to the end of it, Jesse Homa, who had actually beat me in the Las Vegas Accelerate or Experts last year, he finished way before me, but I had managed to get a bunch of bonus points going through and knocking out the SASE Fortinet Manager section. So even though I finished after him because I had gone forward and completed those objectives, I was able to inch ahead of him towards the end.
Wow,
And that was
that is so
honestly
cool.
edge of my seat watching. It really was, because, for those of us who are, level 11 nerds, this was live streamed here in the States, and we did have a micro watch party here at XenTegra. We don't have a huge in-house team, but I did rope Kelly in for a bit, as well as a few other team members. And that was really great to watch when Jesse was just kind of sitting back because he was already done, and just watch her points creeping up and up and up. And I was like, yay, Christian!
Yeah, it was really cool.
It was intense. It was interesting because a lot of the other ones you haven't been able to finish the objectives with a lot of time left. But this one, we were able to do that. So it created some interesting opportunities.
Yeah, the looks on some of the competitors' faces, I was glad I was a spectator. Let's put it that way. Well, great stuff, man. So let the competition beware for next year. So we've thrown that out there. Well, fantastic. Well, let's pivot to some of the announcements from Accelerate. I know they talked a little bit about a number of things. FortiSASE is one of them. Christian, you have some pretty real world experience turning up customers. Have you seen an increase in adoption in FortiSASE?
Absolutely. Since Experts of last year, I would say probably a third to a half of my projects I do now are FortiSASE, where I didn't do a whole lot of it before that. I've done some huge projects too. I think the largest one I've done was about 15,000 seats. So quite a few people, especially in really big environments, are turning to it. I think the reason we're seeing these bigger people move toward it is because it's a lot easier to set up than SASE, and there's a lot less overhead when it comes to actually managing the VPN.
Wow, that's a huge deployment. What do you feel like the end user experience is for them onboarding, new users that might have been using just VPN into a FortiGate or something like that? How do you, compare the two?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on what your environment looked like before. In this case, it was really convenient that they were already on EMS. So it's just a matter of running a script that re-registered them from their internal EMS to FortiSASE. And then they had to update their client, and they were good to go. It was a really smooth operation.
Wow, that's good to know. I mean, that's really for anyone who's considering, that migration, and knowing that if they already have EMS, that makes it that much easier. That's great information. I know, Fortinet is continuing to develop the product and recently announced a few things, clientless ZTNA for
Yeah.
non-managed clients. So I think that's a big deal for customers that might have other vendors or contractors working for their, doing work for them, and they need access. I believe they also now offer browser isolation for
They're
addressing
staying
security.
competitive with that. Honestly, it was really good to see that included.
Yeah, without a doubt. For what I guess uncategorized websites and things like that.
The
Yeah,
remote browser, yeah. Go ahead, Christian.
I was just gonna say it's a really cool feature. I mean, because you can train the end user all the time, but these kinds of things make me think of something I read from a park ranger saying that the overlap of intelligence between the dumbest tourists and the smartest bears is a lot wider than you'd think. So, kind of making security easy is the best thing you can do, aside from training your end users. And so, browser isolation really takes away a lot of the risk of them clicking on risky links and things of that nature.
Oh, very cool. That's great. That's great information. Your experience is really showing through here. I guess the 40 branch SASE to steer thin client locations into SASE, that seems like a new something or a new feature that's been recently released.
Yeah, that's been really awesome for a couple of our clients. We have one that they run like a travel agency, and they have a lot of like small remote offices where they might have 3 or 4 users out there. It's not really worth it for them to set up a whole FortiGate and bring them into an SD-WAN configuration. So they just ship out an AP to these sites, and they have it report back to SASE, and they control all the internet access from SASE.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's a great feature. I mean, and it does give a lot of flexibilities. LeeAnn and I work with customers all the time that say, hey, I've got a small little deployment. In some cases, there's just a couple of people at the office, and maybe they're not there all the time. So thin client definitely makes sense there. And then I think, yeah, that's some of the announcements for FortiSASE. Let's move on to some other announcements from Accelerate. I know I didn't catch Kenzie when he spoke, but I reviewed some of his recordings, and he explained that Fortinet continues to hold about 55% of the security networking market and shipping more than the next competitor, like 20 times over, as far as shipments. And that's an amazing stat, because I remember when I was at Fortinet, so many customers that just they buy Fortinet and they wait for time for the end of life and just replace it with the next generation, right? And it's an easy migration. They love the product. They love the security they get there. Ken went on to say that they're going to continue their sustained organic development. Of course, FortiOS, and sticking with their tradition of developing ASICs, the content processors, network processors, and security processors that give FortiGate a huge advantage in performance over the competition. So that's good to hear.
Yeah,
Also, oh, go ahead.
yeah, it's really exciting to hear. I kind of feel like I'm at the crest of a big wave, and it's only going to get bigger. It's really interesting as kind of a younger network engineer, because a lot of the guys, they all talk about Cisco and the CCNA, but I mean, Cisco even fell out of the leaders quadrant on some of the I'm forgetting the name, the Gartner
Gartner.
squares. Yep, it
Yeah.
came to me, just took me a second.
Yeah, you're
But
good.
yeah, so fell out of the leaders in some of the Gartner squares, and it was really interesting to see, because really, if you say I want to do network, everyone tells you to go get your CCNA, and maybe that dynamic
I
and
fell
starts to
victim to
start
that. I
changing,
feel
but
personally assaulted. Yeah. Um, yeah.
but Fortinet's really great to learn on. That's how I got my start. Is I've been Fortinet from the first day I started networking. I just came in from a help desk kind of position, and I just kept bugging the network architect until he gave me an opportunity. And Fortinet's GUI just really made it easy to get started. And if you get excited about these kinds of things, it's really easy to go deep too.
Yeah, I actually went and got it was an NSC4 back in the day before I got my CCNA, and I honestly feel like it was almost more comprehensive and easier to learn because of the GUI being there compared to a CCNA where it's abstract models and CLI.
Absolutely. It definitely helps to have the fundamentals before going to NAC. I feel like that is one of the weaknesses of the exam. But
Mhm.
if you've already got the networking fundamentals, it's an excellent way to get deep into Fortinet.
Yeah, for
Really
sure. I
is.
mean, at the end of the day, a FortiGate is a router under the covers, right? At the heart of it, it's definitely a high-speed networking router, and then they've overlaid security and everything else, SD-WAN and so on. Um, so yeah, getting back to announcements, then I guess they also will be doing a focus on defensive AI to counter others using AI to develop malicious exploits and things like that. So I guess you kind of have to, what's the old saying?
Set a thief to
Steel,
catch a thief?
yeah, steel sharpens steel, whatever. So you now have to use AI to,
Defend against
go
the
up.
AI.
Yes,
Uh,
the guy's using AI, so it's
well, that's not the only application they're using it in, too. It's really neat how they've incorporated it in. So you have like the Forta AI chatbot that sets Forta Manager on easy mode, honestly. Though it still won't give you the recipe for the best tacos in any of the labs and the fast tracks. Consider that a formal complaint, but it might in real life. I don't know. Someone's got to let me know if that actually works.
Yeah, the
good
Forte
thing.
AI is really awesome. One of the coolest things about it is being able to generate network diagrams. Is like it's kind of a cute trend going around where people generate diagrams using ChatGPT's image generation a few weeks back. But I was really impressed to see with FortiManager, they were actually able to generate usable network diagrams that actually had the information, and it was in a professional format instead of kind of these cute clip art kind of things.
Yeah, and the script generator is so great if you don't live in this all the time, if you're not hands-on keyboard every day, it is so simplified. Just to punch everything in, it generates the script, you drop it in, it goes, it works, it's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. It really takes advantage of FortiManager because FortiManager also has kind of these fact-checking tools to make sure that you're not breaking your configuration when you're pushing stuff out. And of course, there's also I forget what the name of the feature is, but it allows you to recover your FortiGate if after like 5 minutes or 10 minutes if you push out something that breaks your connectivity.
Yeah, I thought that they added I'm not saying Juniper, but adding the rollback feature like that is so, so helpful sometimes. It really is. It can be a lifesaver.
Yep, it's an automatic include any FortiManager I touch.
Yeah, I think it's like an auto restore feature, and yeah, it is absolutely awesome. And I agree with you both. FortiManager and FortiAnalyzer Manager is a great tool, and now that it can scan in network diagrams and then help with the scripting to deploy that into the network, it's amazing. And of course, FortiAnalyzer, it's been a workhorse for Fortinet for so long. It's integrated in so many other products that log to it, including FortiWeb and EMS and things like that. But they also use it in the SOC automations. And now I think there's a new add-on service called FortiTip that's powered by FortiGuard. So that'll just anchor it more deeply into the Fortinet security fabric for sure.
Yeah, FortiAnalyzer has always been a really awesome product. It's been absolutely central to every UFC I've taken so far. They've all had some aspect of threat hunting in FortiAnalyzer and making sure that we really understand like how the SOAR features work and how the incident response in there is. It's really awesome. I think people underutilize it for sure.
Oh, I think FortiAnalyzer is a taken for granted tool frequently as well. If you don't use it in the wild for threat hunting and stuff, you don't know about its capabilities and you just kind of take it for granted that it is there. But it is such a neat tool to work with when you get into it and under the hood.
Yeah, I think FortiAI is really going to help out with that because I think the biggest problem is not that these people don't want to use FortiAnalyzer, but we get into teams of 3 people who have so much already on their plate and we're trying to help them out. We set them up with FortiAnalyzer, they get a couple reports, and that's all they have time to really figure out how to do in there. But with FortiAI, you can organically ask it questions to find out what's going on in your network.
It makes it much more accessible for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the integration with the fabric with all the other products, right? FortiEDR and the sandbox and everything else, they all tie back to FortiGuard. That's where the heartbeat of the company is. But yeah, it's just a great product. Their whole product line, the integrations are fantastic. Yeah, I think AI is going to be more heavily used. They've got FortiAI Protect now for products like FortiGuard services, the FortiGate, the NDR, the web. And then they've got the FortiAI Assist to do automated SOC and NOC stuff, tying into Analyzer, Manager, SIM, and SOAR, FortiAI Ops, and down the list, the NDR, and even
Say it even
now.
as far as it ties into lace work at this point for the CNAP.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly right. And then lastly, they have the FortiAI Secure AI. Really, it ties into some of the similar products, the FortiGate, FortiGuard AI, and the DLP piece, and CNAP again, and Universal's ETNA and FortiWeb. So
And I like
definitely
the
a lot
Secure
of
AI because it ties into a axe I've been grinding kind of hard on AI governance and how our data inside our LLMs and our models is actually governed and controlled and secured. And the FortiSecure AI actually secures your systems, models, and infrastructure. So it keeps that data inside and it doesn't leak out, which I think is absolutely wonderful and a step definitely in the right direction for people who are they don't know they have to comply with it, but security is a priority. So, it kind of sneaks that in there while securing them.
Absolutely. And I think FortiDLP is going to be a huge part of that. We've rolled it out for actually the same customer that did the huge SASE implementation, but I just watched a demo for it. And it's really, really incredible on how it's able to kind of track files as they move through your computer. It can track that you zip something or unzip something. One of the cool things we saw in the demo was ChatGPT was like an approved AI for this model. And so the guy was able to ask questions, upload files to it, but then he went to Gemini and tried to ask it the same questions and paste in some dummy code. And when he tried to upload the code, he got a big warning. He's like, "Are you sure you want to do this? This isn't an approved AI." And so it kind of handholds your end users a little bit. It's like, it's not calling them stupid and just saying, "Hey, you can't do this. This isn't what you're supposed to be doing." But at the same time, it kind of gives them that beat to stop and think for a second. Is this something you should be doing?
Yeah, I mean, these tools are fantastic. And what I used to see in the customers I dealt with, sometimes they would, say, "Hey, you know what? I've only got, 10 FortiGates. I don't think I really need FortiManager." Or, we already have a SIM. We don't really want to invest in FortiAnalyzer. But at the end of the day, the integrations and the ties back into some of the stuff we discussed in FortiGuard Labs, it's well worth it. I mean, it's pennies on the dollar if you ask me, but to have these tools in your environment. So, well, great. So one of the last things I wanted to cover was just briefly a little bit of OT, and I think OT networks and the applications. I mean, OT touches so many verticals, but it wasn't called OT, back in the day. It was just, I've got this back end network that doesn't really touch the other IT network where my workstations are. And it used to be that this stuff was segmented from the internet, but not anymore. I think OT is now in the cloud and coming to the data center, aka OTDMZ, right? So Fortinet has really enhanced their platforms to support OT with protocols and hardened models. For example, they have, I believe it's 3,300 and growing OT protocol rules and over
More than that.
Yeah, more than, there you
Yeah,
go.
more than that.
And there was, at the time I last checked, there were like 750 IPS rules that could be applied. I mean, that's one thing, but then you add in virtual patching, like based on the MAC of the device to protect it until it can get, we all know
Actual
OT
patching
networks.
deployed. Yeah, I'm gonna like interrupt you here on that one because virtual patching is such a cool technology. And kind of how it works is you have little programmable logic controllers that, Rockwell, Siemens, whatever, that were built back in the day. And you can't necessarily drop a hot patch on, say, for a lumber cutting company. You can't drop a hot patch on a machine in the field or in a factory. And they deploy these signatures to stop the vulnerabilities from being exploited until you can get the patch in place. And I think that is so neat that they worked hand in hand with all of these people who actually built the technology over there. The OT guys, I know, a lot of them actually helped develop the technology they're protecting. Okay,
Yeah, I
sorry,
mean, that's
Kelly.
fantastic. I mean, I'm sorry, Christian, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna add on is like the OT aspect of Fortinet is incredible. I have very strong memory of the first experts I went to. I did a OT lab, and the guy just had kind of like this almost stoplight system set up where he had some LEDs, and they were all controlled by Modbus. But he was actually able to like get in between the protocol and stop specific commands from being sent out. Um, and kind of like get really granular with it and say, well, this user can run these commands and this user can run these others, but nobody can run these commands. And you could get really down in the dirt and flesh that out a lot. And Fortinet actually does a lot to develop more protocols. So if there's something that's not really covered already, they're very excited to get more protocols and suites covered.
Yeah, Christian,
That's
we saw the same Blinky box, and that actually, the same workshop, possibly a different day, was the whole reason that, I even know what the Purdue model is, and I got super interested in OT technology. So yeah, they have amazing folks over there on that.
Hey, that's fantastic. I mean, you add to it the models. You've got ruggedized switches, ruggedized FortiGates. You even have a Forti extender like the 511G if you need to put it on your fleet vehicle or something like that. So they have a full array of products to support, the OT world, and and protecting it. So
I don't know more about FortiSRA there, because it's just a really cool product. It's kind of in the same vein of FortiPAM, if you've already heard of that. But one of the coolest parts about it is just being able to audit access into your environment, which is huge in OT because a lot of these resources that you've got out there, they're controlled by a vendor. The vendor's the only person that even knows how the system works to be able to support it. With FortiSRA, you can get in there, you can record everything they're doing. And a lot like I was talking about with the Modbus support on the OT application signatures is you can filter out specific commands. You can say you need approval to get into the system. You can do so many cool things with it, and it ties in with like ZTNA and SASE and even like FortiAnalyzer. You can tie all these things back in there, and you've got that single pane of glass. You know what's going on everywhere.
Thank you so much. I completely was going right past that. And that's a key part of the OT, remote access. So thank you for
And the
reminding me there.
FortiSRA has come a long way since its first deployment too. It's really, really gotten interesting.
Well, we'll see how much longer people are using VPNs if ZTNA doesn't just take over the whole world and
Tokens for all.
Yeah, I guess SSL is kind of slowly fading away, and we're going to be using IPsec.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you both. I'd like to thank you for coming on, Christian from Liquid Networks, and our own LeeAnn Larson for joining us today. We'd like to thank our listeners and hope you found this session informative and helpful. And, I just want to remind everyone that at XenTegra, we're here to help you, and we work with the best products and partners in the network and security industry. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.